Day 19, The Addams Family. And I know what you're saying. This isn't really a horror movie, but in the spirit of the season, I'm putting it on the list, and I don't care what anyone else thinks. Because I love this movie. I grew up loving this movie, and granted, I hadn't watched it in I don't know how long, but it still holds up. This is still a really funny, it's just a good movie. If you don't know who the Addams Family is, you're kind of fucking up, because they've technically been around since like 1938, I believe. I'm sorry, finger on the trigger. Basically, this version of the Addams Family is just as good as the original, in my opinion. The story in this one, their Gomez's brother Fester has been missing for 25 years. Supposedly he went missing in the Bermuda Triangle. Well, but basically they have a lawyer. Their lawyer is I don't remember the actor. He plays a shitty lawyer. He's just after their money, which they have a lot of apparently. And he gets paid with a briefcase of gold coins. And he owes people money, and his loan shark, with the help of her thug son, they come over to, break his legs trying to get some money, and then the lawyer notices something. The con artist lady he's dealing with, her son is a dead ringer for Gomez's long lost brother Fester. So he hatches a plan. He's like, hey, don't rough me up. I know where we can get more of these gold coins that I have a briefcase full of. And basically, we just need the help of your son. And the loan shark is, she wants some money, so she goes along with it. They shave her son's head and basically tell him, hey, look, go pose as this guy's brother. And, if there's something you don't know, just, pretend like you have amnesia or something. And the plan kind of works. And it worked a little too well, because the son, Gordon, playing Fester, really kind of likes he likes the Addams Family. They, excuse me, I burped. They show him, I don't know, true affection. Something he's, I guess, been missing for the last 25 years, because his mother's a little, I'd probably say abusive and hard on him. Basically just uses him since he's a big dumb lug. Well, the plan goes along. His mother poses as his nurse, and it's like, oh, we've been taking care of him for all these years, and I need to pop in every once in a while and make sure he's still doing okay since we're releasing him. So she's got her way in, and the plan fails ultimately, because Gordon, pretending to be Fester, kind of likes his life better as Fester. Well, joke's on his mother, because he actually is Fester. He gets shocked by lightning, and there's, being around his family kind of jogs his memory, and yeah, he doesn't betray his family. Oh, he technically does, but he fixes it. He gets their house back, because their house gets, stolen with the help of their lawyer and the judge that lives next door to the Addams that just hates them. Apparently the whole town hates them. And, but they can't get rid of them. But they eventually, with the help of the lawyer, they're like, yeah, we'll get around all the legal red tape. Well, everyone's plan to basically get rid of the Addams, steal their money, whatever they had going on, it all fails, because, god damn it, they're spooky and they're kooky, and they're just going to come out on top at the end of the day. And, yeah, that was the Addams Family. I really shouldn't have to explain a movie that's, at this point, like 30 years old. So, yeah, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. And if you have seen it, watch it again, because, shit, it's almost Halloween. Day 20, The Color Out of Space. This is not the 2019 Nicolas Cage version. This is the 2010 German version by Juan Vu, I believe. Sorry if I butchered your name. Now, this is a Lovecraft story. This is an adaptation of one. Not one of his better ones, but it's not a bad Lovecraft story. But this movie takes it in a little different angle than the story or the more recent movie. It starts modern day, I believe, and as you can tell, it's black and white. But it starts modern day. A son goes to some professor, and he's like, my father's missing. Can you give me any information? And he basically figures out that his father has basically cut contact and moved to Germany. Or maybe not moved. That's not the best word to say. He's basically fled the country and went to Germany and just hadn't told anybody. The son's very concerned, so he's like, look, I'm going to go to Germany. I'm going to take pictures of my father, recent, not so recent, and show him around and try to find him. Because apparently he figures out his father has gone to a part of Germany there that he was in during World War II. So he goes, and the movie like I said, this is a foreign movie I found on Tubi. Well, the first bit of it's in English. Once he gets to Germany and I guess asks for directions the first time, then the whole rest of the movie's in German. I don't know. I didn't care. Subtitles are okay with me, and the German language is just neat to hear. But basically goes to Germany, shows the pictures, can't find his father, goes to a bar in some small village, and basically runs into a dude, ends up dropping all of his shit, drops all of his photos, and he's like, yeah, I'm looking for my dad. Have you seen him? Shows him a recent picture, and he's like, oh, no, I've never seen that guy before. Then he spies a picture of the picture from World War II, and he's like, I know him, though. And he's like, look, I'll tell you how I know your father. And he's like, and I kind of think I know why your father's here. And then he goes on to basically retell the Lovecraft story, but told from a different perspective. The Nicolas Cage version, the newer version, it narratively was closer to the original story. This one takes a different turn, and instead of being told from the perspective of the guy coming to test water surveyor, land surveyor, whatever, it's told from the perspective of a neighbor. And if most people, if you don't read Lovecraft, Color Out of Space, basically the story is a rocket comes out of space, hits on the small farm in a small village, and slowly starts to change. Scientists study the rock. It's remarkable. They can't figure out what it is, and eventually it disappears. And whatever was in the rock was harboring an alien consciousness that goes immediately for the well and starts sucking the life and mutating basically all life in and around the crater, and it destroys the family. And first they have they grow fruit, and all the fruit's just really big, and they're like, oh my god, I'm gonna make so much money. Well, it tastes like shit. Then bugs start changing, the wildlife disappears or mutates, then the family starts mutating, and then everyone kind of starts shunning the family except for the neighbor. This kind-hearted neighbor keeps going to check on them. Eventually he's running their errands for them, and then shit hits the fan, and time goes by and the family just deteriorates. Some turn into mutants, depending on what version of this movie you watch or read. Some iterations are way cooler than others on this part, but in this one, the family all has different reactions to this alien life form that's just sucking the life and not really assimilating life, but really just sucking the life out of things and changing them to kind of mildly terraform the area it's in. I don't know. But like I said, that's the traditional story for the most part. But and it's always told by the land surveyor. Well, in this version, it's told by the neighbor, the kind-hearted neighbor who couldn't just let this family go, fall by the wayside. They had to help them. And it's an interesting take on the story. Not really different. This one, compared to the Nicolas Cage version, sticks to the story a little better. The setting, I guess, not. Well, when Lovecraft wrote this, he didn't set it in he didn't set it in Germany, but it works. It works. The time period works better versus the Nicolas Cage movie, which is a modern retelling of it. But yeah, basically this movie's black and white. I don't know if I mentioned that. That's why this is in black and white. The movie's really neat. It's in black and white, but the only color that comes in is the color out of space. This magical, mystical color that basically just mesmerizes people who look at it. They just kind of get lost in it, and it takes over. And like I said, this version, it's a tad different. The whole setting in World War II I thought was neat. It's not really set in World War II. It's set before, then kind of bleeds in, because the neighbor who watched the original family, perish, he ends up he lives, so he's like, I can't fucking stand to be here. Like, I've seen the color, I'll never forget it, I need to leave. He enlists, he goes and fights in World War II. When he comes back to his home, he realizes it's occupied by American forces. They're like, all right, sign this paper, we're going to move on. And they're like, hey, what about that place, down lower in the valley? And he's just like, I'm going to come with you. And the soldiers end up, they find the remains of what's left, and like, oh, this place is fucking weird. It looks like it's been blasted. And in the Lovecraft version, that area comes to be known as the Blasted Hearth. And in black and white, it's a little harder to tell just how blasted it is, but it works. And back to the soldiers, they find the remains of the Blasted Hearth in the family, and they start hearing something in the well where the alien parasite's living. They chunk a bunch of grenades down it. It blows, and I don't know. It mesmerizes the soldiers, and one soldier in particular, the medic, who just happens to be the son from the beginning of the book, or movie. Yeah, not book. The guy the American who went to Germany to find his father was the medic who saw the crazy shit, and I guess kind of just had a mental break in his late ages, and just had to go back and see it. And it's like a purple. It's like a purple pink. But yeah, that's the color out of space. I kind of went over on time, but check this one out. It's really good. Watch this version, the 2010 version. Watch the 2019 version, and fuck it, read the story. I think it's from like 1927. It's pretty good. Let me get my thumbs in frame. Bye. Day 21, The Evil Clergyman. This is another Lovecraft story adapted for the big picture. But this movie's a little different. This movie was made in 1988. It didn't get released till 2011. And you think, why the fuck was this movie put on hold for so long? Well, I had to do a little backstory to figure out, like, why this movie was only 30 minutes long. Now, granted, I know partially why, because the story's short, or the original Lovecraftian story, it's pretty short. I kind of just went back to reread it to kind of refresh my mind. I read it in less than 5 minutes, give or take. I don't know. It's not a long read at all. How it would translate into a full-length movie, no idea, unless you just, like, expanded upon the few elements that the story gives you. But veteran to this list, Charles Band, and veteran in my own heart because, god damn it, I love me some Full Moon Pictures. You know, they do make some shit movies, but every once in a while, you'll find a fucking gem. But this is a Charles Band movie, and it started out he was trying to make a movie called Pulse Pounders. It was going to be like a 3-part anthology thing. Well, to start it off, they did the Evil Clergyman. They filmed it. It was only, like I said, it's roughly like 30 minutes long. I guess this was going to be part 1, maybe. I think like it's either like Trancers 2 or Trancers 1.5, another Full Moon Picture property. And I think something called like the Dungeon Master 2 or 3, another Full Moon property, was all going to get smashed together to make a full-length movie. Well, something happened. I think the production, or I think it's like Empire Studios or whatever that Band was making this for, they went under, so they pretty much just shelved what they had. And I think the other bits went out, like Dungeon Master and Trancers. I think those got re-released, you know, later on, way earlier than this, or than 2011. Because there's like Trancers 5 or 6, and those Dungeon, and I think the other one was Dungeon Master 3, and, you know, if there's a third one, like, if you know anything about Full Moon Pictures, you'll know that they take if they make a somewhat decent property, they're gonna make at least 5 sequels. Like, they've done it more than once, and they will not stop at 5 either sometimes. And that's okay. But either way, this the short film retells a very short Lovecraft horror story. Like I said, I had to reread it just kind of like get it all in my head, because with most Lovecraft adaptations, they don't really hit the mark, per se. Sometimes they do, for the most part. Others, not so much, but at the end of the day, I don't really care. Just the fact that that people are still making Lovecraft his stories into films and stuff, that's just badass to me, because H.P. Lovecraft is one of my favorite authors. Yes, he's been called problematic, but I can separate the art from the artist. Either way, this weird story, it's basically, in the movie, chick's like, hey, I want to visit where my old boyfriend used to live. Whatever. Shitty old lady's like, I know what you did, whore. You know, go up there, but don't stay there long. You know, just got done fucking with the police over all this bullshit. And come to find out, main character and this priest had been basically just shacked up there, up in the, I don't know, it was just like a weird, like, I'm assuming like a parapet, like a tower, because there's this weird, like, curving staircase that goes up to the, like, the second story, where where the room was that they lived in. They're like, yeah, the lady that owns the place is like, yeah, we don't come up here at night, you know, blah, blah, blah. A lot of rats in the walls and all this bullshit. And she sets up traps, and she says, you know, the rats are kind of big. Well, she goes up there, she gets left alone, and she starts kind of like reminiscing, like, oh, I miss him, all this, you know, normal stuff. And then she sees him. He just appears out of the corner and eventually gets behind her, starts rubbing up on her. It's a sight to see. And then lo and behold, her priest boyfriend is none other than legendary actor Jeffrey Combs. And, yeah, he's the evil clergyman in the movie. And I thought, oh, hell yeah, because I love me some Combs. He's not the most famous actor, but holy shit, he puts the work in. He does a really good job. Either way, there's another guy in this movie that I recognize, but I'm kind of sad to say I can't remember his name. British actor. I'll probably be shamed for not knowing who this guy is, or at least not his name right off the bat. If you give me a chance, I'll look it up real quick. Like, jump cut. I'm back. The actor's name is David Warner. And I also noticed David Gale is in this. If you don't know who David Gale is, he's, I guess, a lesser known actor. He's dead now. He was in like Reanimator, Bride of Reanimator. He's also in this. But like I said, as the story goes, the main character, she sees her not her husband, her dead lover, the priest, and then she starts seeing like one of his murder victims, which ends up being David Warner. He gives basically a nice warning of stay away. You know, he might be dead, but he's still powerful. Blah blah blah. She fucks up and she touches, which they don't really get into it in the movie. Which, granted, they don't have a lot of time. She touches a forbidden object and kind of kickstarts a process, one that's pretty shitty. But either way, she basically she makes love to Jeffrey Combs, and it's pretty hot. And this is a young Jeffrey Combs, so you know he's ready to get naked for the camera. He doesn't, but they have sex. She wakes up. She's like, "Oh my god, you know, where is he?" Then she starts realizing there's a giant human-faced rat running around, and it's cussing at her, it's cussing at other people, it's just being a piece of shit. It's not in the original story. That little human-faced rat played by the legend David Gale, that's supposed to be Brown Jenkins. He is from a completely different, unconnected Lovecraft story. Not even going to go into it here. But there's a human-faced rat running around that's like the evil clergyman's familiar. The clergyman goes to hang himself and then proceeds to ask for a hanging blowjob. Not making it up. He's like, "Hey, you want to leave here alive? Kiss me." She's like, "Well, you're too high up. You're fucking hanging from the ceiling." And he's like, "Well, kiss me like you used to, down there." And I'm not even gonna get into what really happens. But she fucks up, but is what the long and short of it. And then, yeah, she loses. The plan of the evil clergyman was to take her body and leave, because he's dead and he can't leave that little, tower room, so he needs a new body. So he takes hers. And then that leads to a really weird interaction between him and Brown Jenkins, the human-faced rat. And he's like, "Please let me leave. Like, you can have her soul. Give me the body." And he's like, "Man, fuck you." And lets him have it, and he leaves. Basically, there's a new evil walking among us, and it is Jeffrey Combs hidden in the body of a hot blonde 80s actress. And yeah, that was the Evil Clergyman. And the end of week 3. More to come.